Are you in the mood for a yank tonight? Welcome to this week's Yankcast.
Yeah.
I heard part of the episode with your brother. That was fun.
Me and my little brother have an interesting relationship because we're 17 years apart, and my dad had another kid, and then he got sick. So it was like, it's kind of... Yeah, and my stepmom didn't remarry, so it's just kind of like he doesn't really have a father figure, in his life, so it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, it's cool that you can be there, though.
Yeah, it is, yeah, and we're kind of sharing on that, like, bonding of, yeah, he wants to do art, he wants to do music, and it's kind of cool to see, oh, yeah, it is in the genetics, somewhat.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah.
It wasn't like some terrible thing that kind of passed up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't know, I know a couple people with way younger siblings, and it feels like either they, like, have a sense of responsibility about it due to circumstance, or they're like, why would I talk to you? Like, technically, yeah. I love you, I'll be there for you at big things, but I'll see you later.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I think it is, like... It is kind of a duality because at one element we're just at very different stages of our lives. Yeah. And it's hard. It's because it does feel like kind of a parent-son relationship, and then it's like, but I'm not your dad, so it's kind of like that. But yeah, and we're living halfway across the country. But I've gotten the whole appeal of texting. And I kind of. Because you can kind of create a degree of separation when he's, like, asking me a billion questions, and I'm like, I'm going to take my time
to get back
to you about this shit.
That is a good use of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting because, like, it just makes me think, because he's so desperate for information and for affirmation and just all this stuff all at once. And it reminds me a lot of, like, me when I was a lot younger, so it's like, oh, wow, it's like, God damn it. It's like, because it's like I'm on the other end of that now, and I'm just, like, kind of...
You realize why everyone had such a hard time dealing with you, kind of.
Yeah, and it's like, how would I have responded to myself at like 17 or 18? I would have been like dissing myself, like blowing myself off,
That's cool though. You have a relationship where he can like turn to you for things. That's really nice.
Yeah. But how's everything been with you?
Good. I saw you a couple weeks, not that long, right? Yeah. It was about the same. We moved. We're on the east side.
Nice.
Trying to go out more, but...
Where'd you move from?
My girl was at UCLA. She just graduated, so we were... Or for grad school now, but, like, she was in student housing, so we were, like, living, like, a charmed life over on the west side for, like, no money. And now that that's over...
Yeah.
We're trying to, like, actually be a part of Los Angeles.
You were liking the west side life?
I like the area was nice. We'll never be able to afford it again, so it was like a cool little glimpse at what it could be like. But the driving was not great. It's nice to look at like a map of where the next show is and be like, oh, it's 15 minutes versus like 45 if you're lucky. So
you were doing a lot more like college shows and.
What's up?
You were doing a lot more like college shows and.
I was just like not really going out that much because I would like get home and be like, I'm not doing this again. I'm not gonna redo this hour drive for maybe 3 minutes. Ugh. But now it's like, what is it? The 10-minute drive? That's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
That's more. Ugh. So much time is wasted in comedy.
It is.
And it's not like comedy's good or rewarding or fun, So there's that. It's trash. Your show was fun. I don't mean to be like a
No, I know.
But
I feel you. No, it's such a crapshoot.
Yeah. And it's like, those first, like originally you're like, fuck it, man, I'll drive 3 hours for 2 minutes. I love this. And then you're like, do I love it? Do I love anything anymore?
Yeah, I remember Bill Burr talking about, like, just his shoulder pain, and he's just like, that's just from driving to gigs. He's got to go to, like, a chiropractor to, like, repair the damage from just driving to gigs.
That's terrible.
I know, right? Like, yeah, it's like we're truck drivers or something, and our cargo is ourselves.
God. So much less important than what they probably have in
Yeah, exactly. Right,
medical
supplies.
supply. Yeah.
So my podcast, I like to like open up with like family stuff a lot of times. I'm very curious about people's family life.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that, but I do hate talking about my family.
Okay. Okay, fair enough.
Not to be. Listen, the rest of the podcast is gonna be great. Very open. But I did a podcast recently. Someone asked me about my family, and I was like, oh, I just like was really uncomfortable. I had to like sit down afterwards and have like one of those thoughts. Where it's like, oh, it turns out I don't like that.
Okay.
So now that I know that, I just want to be honest with you instead of awkwardly going through the.
Oh yeah, no problem. Yeah, I mean, I can just keep it like kind of about you though.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I want to learn about your family. That'll be fun for me. I feel good about that.
Okay.
This could be like super selfish on my end.
No, I feel you, dude. No, I feel you. How was humor used in your family? Was it to like diffuse situations or like to shed light on things? Was it more like provocative or more of a source of trying to diffuse tension?
Probably to diffuse.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, probably that one. I don't remember a time where like a parent or family member was like, and here's the thing about politics, but in a funny way. I feel like it was usually like, God, work sucks, and then a funny way.
Yeah.
What about yourself?
I would say it was probably more provocative because my dad was kind of a narcissistic guy.
Is he with us?
No, he passed away.
Sorry.
But yeah, I think so. It was just kind of like when I did have humor, it was usually like kind of mocking him or kind of like trying to shed light on, or trying to provoke him in some ways.
Yeah.
Sometimes. So yeah, it was a little source of combativeness, I think, sometimes rather than a source to diffuse things. I don't know. I always like those kind of provocative comedians too. You know, like the Andy Kaufmans of the world, and you know the Sacha Baron Cohens, and you know even like the Tim and Erics in their own way, and just people who like to provoke a reaction out of people. So
nice. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Well, who are your like? When did you know you wanted to be a comedian?
I guess when I was pretty little, like somebody put on an album, and I was like, "Oh, this is a thing someone can do," and I didn't really know how it worked, but I remember being like pretty young and being like, "If that's a thing people can do, that would be a fun thing to get to do."
Yeah.
Yeah.
What album was it?
It was probably Bill Cosby, which is like a bummer thing to be like. And this was a real inspirational moment for me, but like I give myself the credit of being like, well, at 6 I had no responsibility nor knowledge of his actions. But it is a little unfortunate to look back and be like, wow, like something that like really defined my worldview is something that I cannot share with others nor reflect on positively. But
yeah. But I mean, I guess in a way though, he was like a more child appropriate kind of comedy, right?
In a way. Yeah, which makes it all so much more
I know,
worse.
right?
It's
Yeah.
so fucked up. But yeah, I think the first album I ever heard was To Russell, My Brother Whom I Slept With. And I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever heard in my entire life. Little did I know.
Yeah, it's I mean, it feels like we're losing another kind of like comedy role model, or you know, it just seems like we're losing a lot of like people in show business all the time now.
Yeah, and it's probably for the best.
Yeah.
Especially in situations like that. It's like, privileged as it is, it just makes my life harder when people ask that question.
Yeah.
These are like the best way to be affected by a serial rapist, but it still sucks.
Yeah. Yeah, and even that like Spanish Fly bit.
On his old stuff.
And his old stuff where he got like the reaction he got, you start to realize how much of a testament it is also to about society at the time, and you're just like, wow, like, because I feel like a lot of these predators have to get it out, especially if they're performers. They have to get it out. Like, you know, the Woody Allens, you know, they have to put it in their films in like little bad, like awkward jokes or awkward moments, or Bill Cosby's have to have a bit about it in their stand-up, or you know, it's like you can't totally lie about it. It has to be there, or it finds a way to get out. you know. It's creepy. Yeah, I know. We're getting into the. We're getting right into it. We're getting right into the. Yeah, I wanted to be a comedian when I was young too. I wanted to be a comedian when I was like 9.
Nice.
Yeah, and I wanted to do because Jim Carrey. I love Jim Carrey. I watched The Mask like over and over.
That's such
a
better person. I might have to steal that.
Go ahead, steal it.
Vaccines.
I know
it's a better problem than rape.
Yeah. Giving your girlfriend diseases and then
Wait, did he do that?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't.
And then
know
she
that.
killed herself.
Oh wait, what happened?
Well, yeah. This is the thing, though.
I didn't know. Wait,
yeah, I
what?
know. I feel like it's a question of like who your allies are, right? Because like Woody Allen, like he's got the New York Times and like the elite like liberal media in New York, and they've protected him from like a lot of this shit,
Yeah.
And Jim Carrey, he just had really good lawyers and who protect. I mean, he was posted up. One of my friends was working at the House of Intuition in Silver Lake, and
what is it? Sorry.
It's it's basically like a tarot reading, but it's just a huge complex in Silver Lake of just like world renowned. I don't know what the correct term is for it, but fortune tellers, tarot readers, stuff like that. And he was posted up in Jim Carrey's house, for months on end while Jim Carrey was trying to find another partner. Like creepy shit like that.
Wow.
And then he found someone, and apparently she killed herself, and her suicide, the family tried to sue Jim Carrey and tried to say that he gave her all these diseases, and like he wouldn't tell her that he had like all these.
Oh, like STDs?
Yeah, STDs. Oh. And then Jim Carrey kind of like totally denied culpability for that. So I don't know. It's
Damn.
just it's power corrupts. That's just it, I guess.
It's really unfortunate.
I know, right? It's like who do we choose, and are they someone we really like sometimes even,
Yeah, it's hard when, not hard, but like it's further complicated maybe when it's like we can barely get the person we know did a really bad thing.
Yeah.
So it's hard to get somebody we're pretty sure did an also bad thing that might arguably be a better bad thing than the worst thing.
Right.
So there's
It's like what's the standard, because right now it feels like it's all the same kind of spectrum.
It feels like if people are afraid of facing consequence more than I've seen people face a lot of consequence, which is sad. Yeah. Anyway, family. Oh, The Mask. I remember seeing that. That was he was like a huge influence on a lot of people.
Yeah.
I forget that because I think I've seen bits of his stand up from like documentaries or like clips online, but I don't. Did he have like an album?
Yeah, he had one special, and it was only like a half hour. But it's pretty like it's very 80s. Gotcha. He has these Jim Carrey dancers who are like in the letters that spell out Jim Carrey, and they're like dancing around like at the top, and they're like doing this really weird 80s thing. It's on YouTube. And
I'll check that out.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. And then he comes out and he's just like, "Give it up for the dancers! Give it up for the Jim Carrey dancers! All right." It's just like, and it's basically all the taglines that eventually he'd use for like Ace Ventura. And basically Ace Ventura. It feels like Ace Ventura was kind of a vehicle for his stand-up persona.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so, he had to, like, that year, like, 94 and 95, he just had, like, hit after hit. I don't think anyone else had that many hit movies in a row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was the one, did he have, like, one that was, like...
It was just, like, Ace Ventura, The Mask, and then, Dumb and Dumber.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he's...
It's, like, right after each other, yeah.
Rich guy.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So with that, I feel like I haven't seen that much of your stand-up, but it doesn't seem like you're like like obnoxious.
No, I'm not.
Which is like I feel like the thing that a lot of people take from performances like that. So what in your mind have you like absorbed from that influence and used for yourself?
Yeah, well, I feel like I feel like the more I physicalize things, the more people get what I'm going for. I mean, and I think that it's kind of been a struggle for me to kind of tie, because I have a lot of deadpan delivery and I have a lot of like one-liner style jokes, but to tie that together with a more kind of physicality and physical presence that so that people can kind of see the whole package.
Okay.
You know?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And if I might be misremembering, and I apologize.
No, yeah.
Were you you were in a gold tux?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
At my show, yeah.
Yeah, alright, that all adds. Like, that's a fun way to do it, so that makes sense. I like a deadpan-y one-liner guy in a gold tux. It's a lot of fun.
It's just like, yeah, totally, they mix with each other. Yeah, it's this like, it's this long, yeah. It's this, how do you think you describe your style?
I don't know.
Yeah, fair enough.
I should get better at all that stuff. That's all like the marketing stuff where people who can encapsulate themselves like,
yeah,
great, wow, your bio reads really well. And you're like, well, I don't know what that does, but it feels like I should be able to do that. But I haven't figured it out yet. I don't really like, I don't know, it's weird. I like hearing other people describe how they view themselves, because it's like yours seems really accurate to the little that I know of your performance, but like sometimes people will describe themselves in a way that like is completely the antithesis to what I feel anyone takes away from the experience of watching them.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting to hear, and then I just like don't even want to try.
Yeah. What part of stand-up do you like more, do you think? Do you like the writing or the performing?
The performing. I feel like I find a solid amount of the writing in the performing. I'm not, yeah. Like, there's a lot of stuff where it's like you write it on a page and that doesn't account for all the things that go into it that make it funny, because it's not funny on the page. But I don't know. I mean, that's my. What about yourself?
Yeah, but the performing kind of brings life to it, and brings the punches and kind of the moments to it.
Yeah, and you can take angles and stuff.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. It's more exciting. Yeah.
What about you, man?
I would say probably the performance too, because I think I especially think with stand up, like stand-ups love to hate on improvisers, but in some ways stand-ups and improvisers are doing a lot of the same stuff, because it's like you're working the room.
Yeah.
You know, you're not asking for a suggestion, obviously. You know, you have your shit more together than that, but it's like you're working the room, you're figuring out like what kind of environment you're in, and I feel like the good stand-ups eventually get to a point where they kind of make it all one thing, where they're sprinkling jokes, but they're also working the room, they're also in the moment, going moment to moment. And that to me is like kind of the thrill of it, because you never know how it's gonna kind of turn out.
Do you do improv as well?
Yeah. And I never found a good school for it. I mean, because everything's so hyper competitive in LA.
Oh yeah.
And it freezes me up, man. That pressure, especially from all these people who aren't getting paid to do it. It like adds like a ton of pressure to it, almost like even more, because it's like no one's confident really underneath it all. Like no one is like, you know, they're all hyper competitive and wanting to tear each other down, but no one's actually got a real source of confidence. You know? Yeah,
the improv. Yeah, it's something about stand up is like you fail until you stop failing, but at least it's pretty. You know, I guess in LA you pay to do mics a lot of the time.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's free.
Yeah.
As opposed to improv, where it seems like you pay $500 for a class.
Yeah.
And you do that again, I guess, until eventually.
Yeah.
It just sounds, that would be such a heavy weight on my soul that not to justify people being shitty to each other, but I can understand the sense of need that comes with it, because you're watching your bank account dwindle through your efforts.
Yeah.
And that's got to be tricky.
Yeah.
Where did you, can I ask where you went, if you went anywhere? That Treehouse place you did your show has a lot of improv, I think.
Yeah, they have a lot of improv. They're more chill. I like this place right now called the Improv Studio. It's right in Los Feliz.
Oh, cool.
But they do more genre-based improv.
Okay.
And it's more relaxed. It's like, I feel like when I'm relaxed and just like having fun, I'm like way more creative, just hands down. Because I don't know, I think that hyper-competitive atmosphere kind of leads to just people like kind of locking step with each other and just doing what they think is the right move for the whatever the philosophy is or whatever the school is, and it I don't know, it kind of makes everything kind of similar rather than showing people's unique. Yeah
I can see that. I haven't gone to as much improv as I
should,
I guess I'll say.
Do you feel like you should go to more?
I feel like I should probably support comedy.
Oh, okay.
I've been to a couple. I've had some friends who have climbed the ladders in different organizations and have been in a place where they can be on house teams and stuff. And I've really enjoyed all the ones of those I've seen. And then I've had some friends who've taken a one-on-one class, and it's really, those I think are the ones where I see everyone has the guy who does this and the girl who does that, and the swipe that's too obvious, and then those repetitions become a little frustrating.
Yeah.
Really, the swipe in general. It's my favorite thing that I hate so much. And we're out. We're just done. We ran out. This guy walks across the stage to let us know that everyone else knows we're out. And we start again.
Do you feel like if you did improv, you would swipe a lot? Just
I
keep swiping and just be like, fuck this.
I feel like I'd be praying for the swipe every time. Like, someone get me out of this.
Right.
But it's like I lack the teamwork abilities, which is something that I think part of the reason stand-ups shit on improvisers is that they can do that in a way that we either can't or refuse to try.
Yeah.
So props to you for that, man.
Yeah, I mean it's I definitely would consider I like more stand-up a lot more, but yeah, it's they both lend to each other in different ways. Like, how did you enter stand-up? Like, where did you start up?
There was a career project in the 8th grade where you had to like research a profession you wanted to do. And then you could either do like a trifold poster board about that profession or a short presentation about it. And I knew I wanted to do stand-up, so I took all the research hours and invested into watching the stand-up I was allowed to watch, which was a lot of like rental stuff from the library. Like, here's Bob Hope at a military play. And you're like, okay, this is probably not what I would watch if I had my druthers, but like, this is fine for someone my age. And then I did like a 5 minutes in front of like a very supportive PTA crowd, and I remember it going fine, but I'm sure it didn't. I can't believe that like adults were like, "What a smart take that child has." But they were. I mean, they were supportive, and that was the only way I never heard of like an open mic. I grew up in a rural area, so I like legitimately thought that like you just had to go around being funny. And then someone would be like, "Hey, you're pretty funny. Do you want a sitcom?" And then you would do a sitcom. And then people were like, "Your sitcom's probably good enough where you could just be funny by yourself." And then you would do stand-up. I didn't realize that stand-up was like the trash of the industry that you just had to go to a basement to do.
So you had a very high opinion of stand-up when you
I had a very high opinion of stand-up, I think because I only had access to like classic stand-up. So like, I think when the only thing you know is like the albums that withstood your parents' moves for however long, all you see is, you know, for not as judgment calls on who they are as people, but for their classic take on stand-up, and you only see the Woody Allens or the Bill Cosby, the Lenny Bruces, the Bob Hopes. So you're like, wow, stand-up must be the greatest thing that's ever happened. And then you get old enough to go to an actual comedy club, and you're like, okay, well, this guy's not Bob Hope. So and then you just realize that most of it's not Bob Hope. And most comedy is fine. Or good. I don't, like, you know, people are good at what they do, and I'm happy for other people's success. This is about a specific person. It's just, like, kind of that, like, surprise you get when you realize that, like, stand-up is not the greatest that they've ever been, and only that. It's, like, stand-up is sometimes this guy at 1 a.m. at a bar with a 2-drink minimum.
Yeah.
And that was kind of hard for me to realize, I think, but now it's fine.
Yeah, that you start to realize, oh wow, stand-up's like every other business. Like, you have middle managers just like anywhere else, kind of, in a way.
Like, I think if the only music you ever heard was the Beatles' greatest hits, and then you heard like any other music, you'd be like, what's happening?
Yeah.
But no.
Yeah.
It's not like, you know, it's not like, I feel like it's also, my take on it now is that that's nice. Because I think for a long time there was a lot of like fear and anxiety about like, well, you have to be the best to be allowed to do it at all. Mm-hmm. And now I think like the same thing that drives all of us is the desire to be as good as possible, but the acceptance that you can exist in this field without being a god. And that lack of fear that comes with that realization, I think, has opened me up to taking avenues or chances I wouldn't have otherwise done.
Yeah. Yeah,
what
so
about
you
you, man?
feel liberating?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember probably the first. I would always like get laughs without meaning to. That was how it all started.
Hey, that's better than nothing.
I know, it's better than nothing. I remember I gave a freaking speech in 6th grade that was about how you shouldn't download from Napster. And I thought I was like convincing everyone in the whole class because I was like gesturing, blah blah blah. And I brought in like a burn disc and I was like, this is an example of what you shouldn't do. And I got a feedback. I was like, that was a great speech because I got like an A. And I did such a good job on that, right? And then my friend was like, dude, everyone thought you were scratching your balls the whole time. And I was just like, oh, fuck. But I thought I was like being so convincing and just like,
That's a great. You got an A though, and you entertained everybody.
Yeah.
So you got everything.
You gotta put it all in perspective. You gotta realize, okay, that was what I needed to. That was the affirmation I needed for myself at the time. And I don't know. I think there will always be that element to everything I do, where I'm just kind of like, almost in a way, like I think my lack of like self-awareness actually makes me and makes me better. In a way, like especially with my acting, I've started to realize like as soon as I get self-aware, it's just all my acting's dog shit or all my performing's dog shit because it's just you gotta be in the moment. You know? And you just gotta So that's kind of how I feel, and I also had a high opinion of comedy, and I think then I like doing enough open mics, and you start to like aim for other open micers, and then you start being like, okay, well that's maybe not the best because it's like it's like everyone's competing in this middle management kind of atmosphere, so it's like you kind of want to try to keep the people that you really look up to because you want to be like them for a reason, like you like their style or you want to aim for that, in a way. So I don't know, I think that's been my process over these last like couple years is like finding again like who I really like enjoy their writing or their comedy and really like appreciating that. Yeah, and definitely not hating anything that I really enjoy.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes to remember all that, but and I like that perspective. It's probably healthier to like go back and remember why you love what you love than it is like look ahead and just be mad at other things.
Yeah. Is there a formula for like a successful joke that you write? Do you feel like you follow a certain kind of writing routine, or what is your writing process like?
I feel like usually it's like I have a big idea and I'm like, oh, this is fun. And then I tell people and they're like, these parts are fun, but the parts you're most excited about make us all uncomfortable. And then I either accept that or I don't. And then it becomes a joke.
No, that's what I love about your stand-up, though, because I see you struggling with that. And that's what's so funny. It's like you're struggling, you're like, I don't know if I want to go there, but it's all I want to do right now. So it's like, it's fun, like that Witherspoon thing, like, I thought about that.
That has not been working that way.
I know, but sometimes I think jokes, it's like it might not get the laugh, but it like sticks with you. It like haunts you. Which I don't know, that's like kind of counterintuitive, right? Yeah. It's like counterintuitive, but because humor, I don't know, humor is such a weird umbrella, especially now in this day and age where I feel like humor is taking, like any kind of person with a voice now has like some, like society expects some kind of moral obligation out of them in a weird way now.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's like a kind of like wokeness or a kind of like where are you punching? Like really, you know what I mean, on a deep level.
Yeah. That stuff's always weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like we're both fortunate and unfortunate enough to be in a position where no one really cares what we believe, which is like...
Yeah.
Well, I mean, someone's going to dig up your podcast in 20 years and be like, yo, Andrew was, like, fucked up. He was kind of canceled. Which I would like. Actually, I would really enjoy it if that happened. I'd be sad for you, but I'd be like, damn, I did that podcast and it ruined his life. But, like, yeah, I feel like... I wonder for people who are like, where we're at, if it's, like... I feel like there's elements of it that are positive because they serve as like guiding tracks of what to do and what not to do in order to avoid offending people who have been marginalized, which I think is something that was absent from comedy for a long time, and it's nice to see that present now. But at the same time, I wonder how many chances are not being taken that lead us, like you had said about improv, down a route where we all kind of end up being one version of 3 different things that have been approved by a demographic.
Yeah.
And so I definitely think that not hurting someone with a difficult life is good, but I guess in that kind of vague artistic sense you can't quite point to a reference for, but no, exists somewhere in your soul. You hope that it's not stopping someone from being bold in a way that ends up being positive in the long run.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It doesn't matter. Comedy's trash. That's the other thing. I've been going through and I went through and bought a lot of like old stand-up albums, and like every generation people are like comedy matters, and then you listen to like every comedian other than the 3 famous ones people remember, and you're like, it really didn't. Like super didn't matter. Nothing has been bettered by it, and no one remembers what people were saying.
Yeah, you think about like the biggest missions of like people like George Carlin or like Lenny Bruce or any of those people, and it was to just make obscenity like normal, like the normalcy of like just using obscenity.
Yeah.
But then you're like, now we kind of are in an environment where it's like, I don't know, it's like it's okay to be obscene in a sense, but but now it's like it's more we're trying to gear. I don't know. I don't even know. It feels like almost it has created a kind of a toxic environment. Like the fact that we can kind of just say whatever the fuck we want. You know, like who was it? Colin Quinn. I was listening to Colin Quinn, and he's right. He was like talking about freedom of speech, and he was like, I don't think people should have freedom of speech every single day of the week. You know, it's like there's some truth to that, because it's like you gotta think about what you say, and it's like, I don't know. It's interesting, especially like Twitter and social media. It's the total breakdown of like kind of social norms and like dialogue in general. It's just like people can just say something outrageous and then disappear. It's like,
but then there's also a screenshot of when you said something that fit the time,
right? And
then you changed with the time, but that screenshot still exists.
Yeah, screenshot still exists, and then they're just like racist ghost accounts. That just,
those are
will just spew out like one bad opinion or one misinformed opinion, and then just disappear.
God,
those you don't even know where they are, where they come. Just so little accountability, you know. This is like, it's just it's pretty interesting.
I think some of it with like, because I think like those examples like Carlin and Bruce like brought about like legal ramification in a way that like did alter the landscape for multiple genres or forms of communication. But I think like, and I hear this used about like people say like people misunderstood Richard Pryor's thing a lot, so like the next generation swore without realizing that he was swearing so he could get away with like talking about racism. And then I think with like Lenny Bruce's stuff especially, it's like I'm using all these negative words because in a time where racial segregation is real, I'm talking about how you should be okay with gay people, and you'll accept that more if I use the F word, because maybe that's commonplace now, maybe it's pushing the envelope, but whatever it is, what I'm saying supersedes the way I'm saying it, and I think that got lost, and now people are just like, well, why can't I say the F word?
Right.
And you're like, well, because you're not trying to help the people who might be called it. Like, it's not...
Yeah.
So that's kind of a bummer, because I think that people get too hung up on... People misunderstand why people are upset when they say things.
Yeah. How do you feel like this constant like media cycle has affected comedy? Do you think it's helped comedy in a way, or do you think it's been a detriment to comedy. And like do you think comedy from this time is going to be timeless, or is it even going to be more, I mean, that's a hard question, but more dated in a way?
I don't know. I guess it depends in my mind on what kind of comedy you do. Like, I think Mort Saul pretty, like, inarguably did some important shit that probably, like, led to, in some capacity, establishments like The Daily Show being so prominent in our lives, but at the same time, no one our age can really listen to a Mort Saul album and be like, that is a really hot take on that obscure member of the Kennedys cabinet.
Yeah.
So I think that, like, influences continue and perpetuate through time, but perhaps jokes themselves, depending on if you want to be a current event or pop culture reference kind of guy, stop working.
Yeah.
There's a shit ton of jokes on old party records about this booze called Ripple that I think it was like a Mad Dog type drink.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it exists. I've never seen it. I've gone to like corner stores and looked, but you're like, I get the joke because it's Mad Dog, but like, what the fuck are you talking about? So I think like it's just different means of it exist. Like I don't think. Like, I think Patton Oswalt wrote a thing about it, too, but, like, nobody listens to Lenny Bruce and is like, there it is. But you're like, well, this is important and it needs to be regarded as such. But I wonder if it's, like, art, where, like, if you're an artist, you know fucking who did what 80 years ago that led to this impressionist whatever. And if you're an audience member, you're like, but I don't like it. So that's all that matters.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about you? What are your thoughts? You think do you when you write a joke, well, not me, that's too specific, but when you think about what you want to do and how you want to perform and what you want your presence on stage to be, is it something that can exist 20 years from now, or is it something that captures the now?
I think that I don't, like, I find the anxiety just like live tweeting, which I know is such an important thing that a lot of like comics and personalities and writers do, where they just like live tweet events and stuff. And the whole thought of that just gives me such exhaustion, because I just like, I don't know, I'm already drained like looking at social media, like, and let alone like commenting on it. Like, I feel like everyone now has so many opinions on everything, and it's just like, I mean, I obviously like do stand up, and I feel like I do have opinions on stuff because I want to perform and I want to talk and stuff, and I want to say things, like I have some things to say, but I'm in this kind of real time of just like feeding this beast. I don't know if I'm, I think I might end up with a lot of my jokes. I feel like they are a little bit more like wordplay. That's a little like they could last for longer. It's not just like I don't have like hot takes on Once Upon a Time and Hollywood, or like, I mean, I do, but I'm not gonna make that a main staple of my stand up. Where I'm just jumping from movie to movie, which I feel like there's so many comics like that. And it's like now, and it's like, because we grew up and we liked movies, but it's like a question, like, are movies even going to be, like, people like my little brother, he likes Avengers and horror movies, and that's pretty much it. And I wonder if video games are going to be the kind of, like, jumping from video game to video game is going to be the new thing, rather than jumping from movie to movie.
With all those YouTube guys, it seems like that's already starting to take off.
Yeah, we're gonna have all this comics talking about, Fortnite. Like trying to make hot riffs on fucking Red Dead Redemption 4.
The wordplay shit, though, I think that does stay.
Yeah,
Anytime I listen to someone and they've got, like, something clever like that, you're like, that's still how language works, you still got me.
like Mitch Hedberg, he's, like, he still has that kind of, like, beatnik, kind of 90s beatnik, like stoner acid guy kind of personality. It still reads. Yeah. Even though, people now are probably more into downers than uppers. It still reads, Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. How are you, how do you get, like, your news? Do you feel like you keep up on news and current events and stuff? I have to
recently.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I don't.
Yeah.
I care. It's. I have not yet found the right way to express my feeling.
Yeah.
Because I do care. But pending being directly aware of what my knowledge of something does for the long term, I don't really it bothers me that children are being separated at the border, and knowing about that will inform how I vote and who I vote for. Jeffrey Epstein makes me, all the things he did make me very sad, and knowing about them doesn't really let me do anything. So it's like,
yeah,
I want to know about the ones that I feel like I can change. I don't want to know about the ones that are just going to bring me down uncontrollably.
Right.
But there's no way to filter that. So
right,
just
especially when you're kind of writing about...
Yeah, we spend a lot of time reading about very sad things and then just walking away and be like, great, now we all know. I think we spent maybe 2 weeks doing like a deep dive into the death penalty. And I think there was a group of people that were like, we're against it, and then they came out at the end and they were still against it. And then there was a group of us that well, clearly we're against it. And then we spent 2 weeks researching the worst things that people have done to other people. And we're like, well, turns out we don't know what we believe anymore. And we're sad and we can't stop any of it. And days like that, that's everyone on the staff is truly an amazing treat to work with, and it's truly been the experience of a lifetime, and I'm very thankful for all the opportunities I've had because of it. But you have to talk to the same 8 people about your intimate feelings on a huge public crisis, and you're like, I think I hate these guys. And then a week goes by and you're like, oh no, we just disagree, it's okay. But it's just crazy sometimes. That stuff will really, it's weird how much something that doesn't particularly affect your life and doesn't particularly give you means of changing it will ruin your soul for a while.
Yeah, and almost ruin relationships, you were saying, one-on-one, or
just get tense at work.
Just get tense,
it's well, I think if you got into a huge fight with a friend over the death penalty, you'd be like, that was weird, I'll see you in a week, and we just won't talk about that. But you get into it with a coworker, and the fight itself is part of work because what you guys learn from the argument leads itself towards the joke, and you're like, okay, I guess this was good. I'll see you tomorrow, but it'll be tense. So stuff like that. I don't like when people say that politics shouldn't be involved in anything, because I think that ignores how deeply involved with things they are. There's lobbyists for ranch dressing, so literally politics are everywhere. But at the same time, it's things are so big right now that it's very rare to be I think that this municipality should do this in terms of their water. And either one is kind of okay, but we have different perspectives. It's this guy is trying to make rape legal, and this guy is trying to Holocaust somebody in a foreign land. I guess we have to talk about those things, even though they're both very sad. And that, I think, goes back to what you said about everybody having a voice, where it's for sure we should say this guy shouldn't Holocaust people, but also why do we have to do that? It's a Holocaust. People should just know not to do it.
Yeah.
And then I think it makes it harder. I wonder if actually for someone in your situation, so you have Twitter, you have all these social media, and you are aware of what's happening in the news, but you prefer wordplay, and you have always looked up to these big silly comics who just kind of bring joy to the area around them, but if it seems the audience but he didn't talk about how the Holocaust is bad. So do you, as someone who does wordplay, feel you have to pause your set and be I'd like to for a moment say that I'm pro-immigration, and now back to wordplay? Or
No, I mean I feel sometimes maybe I'll write a joke that's dark, that's just maybe a little unpolitically incorrect, and then I'll be oh, should I even tell that, because it's not an angry, it's comes from an angrier place than this fun place, and then it's do I have to justify that, or is it or is it even bother to go down that road, because it's it seems kind of maybe not, because it's so much more justification than it's worth, than rather just to try to keep it lighter, especially because I feel my own my own style. Like when I'm happiest, I'm a lot sillier.
Yeah.
You know, rather than being like an angry. I feel like it could be an angry like Eddie Pepitone, but like I feel like and the thing about Eddie Pepitone, I just had Stephen Lawley on the show.
Oh.
And yeah. And Eddie Pepitone, like he even gets like sillier and sillier, and that's how he can keep being that angry persona. Because if he was really like a Lewis Black, like which is a really hard line to walk.
Yeah. Where
you're like righteously like indignantly angry. Just angry, furious, like you really have to have like really good points or it could go off the rail like really fast. You know what I mean?
I do. I wonder if it's been I wonder what it's been like to be in his shoes because the thing I remember about him every time is like there's a Starbucks across from Starbucks. And you're like, yeah, that's really infuriating and ridiculous, but like when you zoom out on what's happening now, is it enough to be that angry?
Yeah.
And I wonder if like it doesn't change the fact that I love that bit. I just wonder if that kind of thing is being received differently.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah, because it is. It's just like almost feels like a kind of like energy. If it's anger, it's anger.
Yeah.
If it's especially because we're in such kind of a tribalistic kind of time, it feels like almost. It does feel like your energy is so sensitive.
Yeah.
Like just the energy you put into something, it's like, oh wow, you turn people. Like, even what you're saying, like people aren't listening to what you're saying anymore. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Ooh, yeah, and I guess in a position like you like one-liners and stuff, it's hard. Like Louis Black kind of guy can be like, and this and this and this and this, and now kind of a risque thing. Bruce like, and this risque thing. Moving on. I hope you took that right. That's rough, man.
Yeah, I don't know. I definitely haven't come to a total. I don't know. I think it will eventually click, but I think it. What was your first like foray into comedy and like news and where they kind of intersect?
Oh. What do you mean? Sorry, I feel this is not me being accusatory.
No. I just mean where because I know you've kind of done reporting pieces almost as kind of a comedic kind of reporter. So I'm just wondering when that kind of started for you.
Oh, okay. Sorry, man. Yeah, no, I just wasn't. I couldn't get there. What a question. Let me think. Probably. On paper, the first thing was when I moved to Portland, some dudes were doing something called Spicy News, where they would write kind of one-liner-ish current event jokes, and you would have to eat like a shitload of habanero peppers and tell them why you were crying. That was probably the very first news-related comedy venture. Yeah. After that, I think I worked with Vice a little bit and did some like comedy news-ish stuff with them, which was like a real challenge because like I was like super young and green, and it was like the saddest shit. Like it's very like, hey, we're gonna make fun of Trump is like hard because it's a saturated market, but like, hey, we're gonna try to make this Ebola checkpoint a good time is like I'm not ready for this. But it was a great experience. It taught me a lot about like kind of trying to find ways to toe that line and kind of where I was on some things. And then the Jeffrey show was like I was writing a weekly semi-current event blog thing for a local paper up in Portland. And that had kind of taught me deadlines and current event jokes and stuff like that. And then I got the packet for Jeffries and sent in one that just kind of like combined some of the perspective that I had not perspective like that I knew what was going on, but kind of like my take on how people felt about bad things, and then that I think helped me get a job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is that? Yeah. All right.
Yeah. I was just curious. What is the environment like to work at the Jim Jeffries show? Does Jim Jeffries himself kind of have so you're writing for his voice, right?
Yeah.
And so you do kind of have your own voice, but you're also always writing for his kind of, because to me he seems kind of like a little more alternative. Like he can get he's like rough. His brand is like rough around the edges, right?
Yeah.
So he can kind of go places that the Daily Show maybe couldn't,
right.
or like late night couldn't. Right? Is there a kind of like almost like a punk rock kind of atmosphere there?
That's an interesting question. I don't think it's very punk rock. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I think we definitely know that we can get away with a little more, and we definitely, like, get to play in that space, but we're still, like, I don't know. I don't know what a punk rock version of, like, The Daily Show would look like. I feel like it would just be, like, a fucking, like, dude burning things, like, which would be super cool, like, I'm into it, but, like, I think it's, because, like, it's hard, like, I feel like a part of punk rock is be like, the systems in place suck, so we built our own system, and I think it's, like, a little tricky to have that vibe, and then have someone say, brought to you by Viacom, but, like,
yeah.
But, like, I think we get to have fun in a space that other people don't, because Jim has kind of carved out the space for himself. And I think that, like, his gun control bit is, like, probably the preeminent example of, like, here's something that has a point about what's happening, but also I just kind of think you're dumb. And we get to do that in a way where I think Trevor has to be more like, well, I've read these books and they've led me to this joke. And I think we can play with... I think maybe it feels less punk rock and more like a bunch of kids who get, like, solid B's and C's that are all in a detention room together. Like, yo, this is dumb, but, like, we can kind of tell you why. But, like, we're not going to read about it, but we're pretty sure we got to figure it out.
Yeah, so it's, because, I guess maybe the better term is, like, it's a little less, like, elitist feeling, in a way.
Yeah, I think a lot of us care about the issues, but we've never... there are definitely some people who are, like, socially conscious people who purposely avoid elitism, who do wake up every morning and read the Wall Street Journal.
Right.
And then I think there's a couple of us that, like, do not really know what's happening and wouldn't if you didn't pay us to, and then we bring that and the two things merge into something like Jim's voice.
Yeah. Which I appreciate it. Yeah, I like that, because I don't know. That feels like, I don't know, even though you're right, it's owned by Viacom, it at least does feel like it's more like a lab of just figuring out what things click and what things are working.
Yeah.
Versus really having a lot on the line and worrying all the time about how something's coming off.
Yeah, there's been fun to that, and I think, like, I think some of the joy we get is that, like, Trevor Noah inherited, like, an institution. And I think there was a lot of pressure there.
Yeah.
Samantha Bee and John Oliver both, like, come from this institution, and so I think there's an expectation. And Jim comes from stand-up.
Right.
And not that John doesn't as well, but, like, or not Trevor, but, like, there's less, I think when you hear him trip into a point, it's like you're all falling into it together, because you don't, like, expect, like, you know, if John Oliver, I think we did a thing about, the whole premise for an episode was just the concept of paper. And it's like, and at the end we were like, so that's paper. We'll see you later. And I think, like, John Oliver could definitely do a great bit about paper, but I think he'd be like, yeah, but what am I supposed to feel? I think that we get to have that fun space to experiment, because there's not... the expectation is just that we want you to have fun.
Yeah. What do you appreciate about social media in general? Do you...
It's trash and I hate it.
Okay.
Yeah. No, sorry, what were you going to ask?
What do you think social media has enabled you to do that you wouldn't have been able to do before? Like things like Twitter or Instagram or...
I've never thought about a lot of the things that you're asking, so I apologize. I'm not trying to, like, be like, I'm just like actually trying to think about an answer.
Yeah, sorry if
No, it's good. I was like, oh man, I want to just be but then I have to be like, what do you mean? Because I just don't know what's happening. I feel like personally, the thing that I like that social media has done is it has forced me to explore genres and avenues of comedy that I otherwise would have completely ignored in a way that may have eventually come to be a detriment. So I don't really write a lot of jokey type jokes, except for Twitter kind of makes me think in that way, and that hopefully has bettered me. I don't really think in a visual comedy medium immediately, because stand-up is very simplistic in what it can offer in terms of what you see, but Instagram has forced me to think differently. I don't really like hanging out with people, but podcasts force you to find a way to do it. You're great, but just generally.
No.
So I think that like, even though I think that there's like a lot of negative things that happen about it artistically that force people to toe a line to promote themselves rather than to promote what they do as a craft. I think that if that's going to be the case, at the very least, it's offered insight into how to do different kinds of comedy.
Yeah.
But that's not, like, worth it. Like, it's still trash. Like, the bad that's going to happen to us because of social media is... I have to delete my tweets every 6 months.
And then there's still some server in Russia where it's still up there. There's some backup server in Saudi Arabia.
Just got them all, yeah. Like, there's no way to get away from, like, oh, I shouldn't have said that thing out of context. It's just, like, bad. Like, yeah. Yeah. What was it? Somebody said... There was, like, I'm sure it happens multiple times, but, like, somebody had said something that sounded like, I think it was one of the Doctor Who's. One of the former Doctor Who's had said something, and it was, like, the quote that went around on the website was, like, I think that this woman Doctor Who is taking a role model away from men. And you're like, well, this guy sounds like a huge dick. And then you read the article, and he's like, I think it's amazing that new people are getting role models in this character, but I do hope that men are able to, like, see themselves reflected, or so. He, like, said it in a way where you're like, yeah, okay, right. And you're like, that sucks. That's just, like, who that guy is known of as now by all these people who never bothered investing further. And I know that I've perpetuated that. Like, it's so... One day somebody's gonna, like, get me for something I said, and I'm gonna be mad, and then I'm just gonna think about all the times I did it for, like, one extra follower. Like, it's trash. We're trash people. We deserve hell. We should be consumed by a fire. Death is too good for us.
Okay. So I've got a kind of a separate character. I think you met him at the show a little bit. The Flash Mike. Now?
Oh, does he come out at the podcast?
No, he asks questions that I can't.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Okay, so he's gonna ask, and they're mainly.
I missed his presence as a character. I saw him as a prop, and I was like, I don't know what happened. I can only assume the worst. And knowing now that it's a character you do is actually more disturbing than what I had assumed was happening with your flashlight microphone.
Hey Curtis, how you doing? So where's the weirdest place that you've had sex?
This is a question you don't feel like you can ask me? Where I've had sex that's weird. I don't know. That was pretty normal, probably. It's not really weird. Just a stranger's bedroom, I guess. It's not really, like, weird. It's just like, well, I shouldn't have done that, but I was drunk and there was nowhere else to have sex. But it's not like, I don't have any crazy, like, I've never been that kind of person. I guess I fucked in a stranger's backyard, but you feel weird saying that because I think it's, like, super illegal to do. I don't know. I wish I could be like a dairy freezer, but I'm like I like weird sex in normal locations.
What's your favorite sexual position?
I'm so glad that you didn't like go the extra mile and have the fleshlight with you as you did the impression. My favorite sexual position? Damn, I'm just boring at sex. I feel like I'm thinking. Damn, I feel like I should be like, damn, here's a crazy position for a joke like a wheelbarrow or something. But who wants to go through all that work? It's after a long day, you just want to make love to the woman you care about and go to sleep in her arms. I'm a big fan. What's it called when she's on top? Is it just called her on top?
Yeah, I guess is it cowgirl?
Oh, regular cowgirl.
Regular
cowgirl in regular locations. I like to be able to see her face so I can know if I gotta change up what's happening for her pleasure. Y'all selfish out here with that reverse shit, just in loveless situations, trying not to acknowledge the person you've let inside you or are inside of. You guys gotta step up your game, open yourselves emotionally, and fuck with eye contact.
Fuck yeah.
Wow. That's feminist as fuck.
All right, thanks, Flesh Mike. All right, thanks, Flesh Mike.
That was a fun segment. I like that. I didn't remember that happening on the episode with your brother.
No, I definitely didn't do that for my brother. Yeah, when I first started the podcast, and my girlfriend was like, "You're gonna have a Flesh Mike on this?" And it's like, yeah, you're right. Yeah, you're right. I need to alter things for the first episode.
That was a good call.
I mean, my little brother, don't get me wrong, my little brother is very perverted. He thinks people suck poop out of their butt for sex, you know.
Wow, how old is he?
He's like just turned 13.
Oh, yeah, all right.
Yeah, right?
I feel like you should know better than that, but I'll give him some weird ones. There was that wow when someone explains to you what sex is, and you're like, so you pee in her? So I get it. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's and he just wants a girlfriend, and he doesn't know how to go about it. Like he goes on Instagram and he's been getting blocked because he's asked how much girls weigh. You know, he doesn't.
How?
Because I think he's like jacked, so he's always like talking about how jacked he is. So
so he's
he
trying
wants
to
know
get
their measurements, you know, in a very like jockey kind of way, but
it comes across like
yeah, it just comes across like he's just like
a
chauvinist.
That's such a garbage age.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, you really like. I look at that look on his face, and I was like, yeah, I was no better. It's hard.
I feel like the conversation has advanced enough, especially with the internet, where like hopefully people are better. Not that we were like all monsters, but like hopefully people are like more aware of how others feel than we were, than the generation before us was. But like I don't think that takes away how fucking trash your brain is.
Yeah, and it also like it just you find out so much more even if you're more isolated. You know, which I think that combination can be terrible.
Yeah.
Like you just find out all this information and then you have no one to talk about it with, or no way to digest it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like
No.
Like my little brother's living in Vermont, and it's just like very like, you know, very rural, and you know, it's you know, he wants to be like a rapper, but there's like no one who raps, or there's like no music outside of like chorus or like band, you know.
Yeah, it's hard to in an isolated location where like in a small town where like these are the people you get for 2 decades. It's hard to find your people because they're just not around.
They're not.
Like,
yeah. And
those are the kids that go fucking nuts in college. Like, heroin? Yeah, I found them.
Oh my God.
No, I'm not that your brother's gonna do heroin.
No. Yeah.
But just like it'll be nice when he finally gets out. He'll be like, oh, and then he'll have to do it again. He'll be like, I found rappers. And now I have to suss out which ones of them are not trash. Because that's like, I feel like that was a thing with comedy. Like you start and you're like, I found my people. And then 2 years in, you're like, I gotta take a step back. You guys, some of you are monsters.
Yeah, no, I feel that. So I don't know. I like to end with like, do you practice mindfulness or like meditation at all?
What do you mean?
I don't know. Like,
Do I
how do you
meditate?
practice self-care? Do you have any like routines for like self-care?
Fuck.
I'm just curious.
Maybe not any healthy ones. I've been trying. I started taking trombone lessons,
What?
and I find like I'm not good, but I find that like the nature of learning something in combination with learning something that by nature forces you to take deep breaths has been very soothing. So in terms of like healthy mechanisms for like self-care and calming after like a work day, that's been my go-to recently.
Yeah.
In terms of most of the time, it's drinking.
Fair enough. That's. You're from the Midwest, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how to go to feelings. I think about going to therapy sometime, but it's like, damn, who am I gonna be? Would it be an LA guy? No, it's not fair.
No, fair enough. I mean, I'm such an LA guy that I had a therapist tell me I didn't need to see her anymore.
Hey, but that's great. So, first of all, I'm really not trying to shit on people who've been to therapy. That's a trash way to be. But second of all, congratulations on getting to a place where the person who has overseen some of your emotional development feels that you're strong enough to go out there. That's fantastic.
Yeah. No, it's true. It was like took like 10 years, and there's been like a lot of bad therapists. Like there's a ton of bad therapists, but it has helped me a lot. Yeah, just in a better place.
The fact that you were able to stick with it for a decade despite obstacles like bad versions of the thing you're turning towards I think, speaks highly to your character. Probably why you were able to find a place where you feel like the people who are like, fuck it. Like, yeah, you're not going to get better. Yeah. So congrats, man.
Oh,
that's
thanks.
awesome.
Thanks, dude. Do you, I don't think you do, but do you subscribe to stand-up being therapy at all?
I don't, I should ask first, how do you feel about that?
I think it all depends. I think that some people have a self-realization from stand-up. It's probably on a case-by-case basis, because I think some people like are made better from doing stand-up, and some people are made worse.
Oh yeah. God, you think about all the people who started you at 19, and you're like, damn, think of who you could have been if you had one role model that wasn't an alcoholic. I think that it can be therapeutic if you can separate what it is that you're getting out of it versus what it is you're giving to the audience. I don't particularly I don't have a lot of patience for people who are like, well, you guys had a bad time, but I feel better. That I don't think is good. But I think if you can do something in a way that's cathartic for you and a release for the audience, then you've done a good service that in some ways may be unique to comedy. Yeah. But also, if you need therapy, you should probably go to therapy. Yeah. Unless you're me, in which case, don't do it, you pussy.
What do you feel as your role as a comedian? Like, what kind of... Do you feel any kind of obligation as your role as a comedian and working in kind of on a news kind of show where people are getting their information? Do you feel like it kind of like an obligation with that? Or what kind of obligation would you feel with that?
For the show, I think we have an obligation to first and foremost try to make people laugh, but also not, to the best of our abilities, not sacrifice what is true about the conversation for the sake of a joke, because I think we've come to realize that people have conflated comedy shows with news, people have conflated Facebook posts with news, and so we do have an obligation to the best of our ability, present the facts, because we feel that we should be able to say, like, clearly these are jokes, it's a comedy show, but if people have lost that, then we can't afford to have that be our fallback perspective. As far as stand-up goes, I don't really know. I think that one of the fun things about a live performance setting that allows a diverse and hopefully increasingly diverse amount and kinds of people to participate in it is that everyone should have a different answer to that, and that's what makes a show good. I would really hate to watch a show where everyone felt like they needed to tackle racism. I would also hate to watch a show where everyone felt like puns were the solution to bad comedy. I think I'm mixed. I want one person to be like, racism's fucked up, and then I want one person to be like, have you ever noticed that there's 3 types of the word there? And then you have a great day. And somebody is like, my wife, and then someone else is like, my wife, who's effeminate. And then it's great. It's a good show.
All right, yeah. I think I get behind that because, yeah, I think you're right. I think everyone should have a different definition of all these things, and it shouldn't be homogenous. Yeah, so that's the final yank. Comedy is relative.
Damn, comedy is subjective. We got that.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
No, it's
to the listener and to the comedian.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
All Damn, right. Dude, it's been good solving all the problems in our chosen form of what's it called? Expression. Damn, I can't wait for this podcast to ruin your life. It's gonna be so... Damn, I might for fun listen to your podcast and then fucking just cut up parts where you're doing Fleshlight. You're like, damn, Andrew Yanker is at it again. Nobody has any answers. Comedy's trash. If you want to make a difference, you should probably volunteer.
Yeah, I've been trying to do that too.
Really?
Yeah.
Damn.
This thing called Burrito Project. So
what's that?
It's they pass out homeless. They pass out homeless people. They pass out burritos and water. Wow. They pass out burritos and water to homeless people.
Sorry, I don't know. That's like one thing that only I think is funny right now that could never exist. It's just...
Yeah, but no, it's cool. It's cool because of how simple it is. Because it's just like doing basic things like passing out food and water, common sense things are actually technically illegal in LA.
It's a huge, like the food temperature.
Yeah, it's just like there's so much bureaucracy.
So much gets thrown out of every television lot every day of usable food,
and it's disgusting.
Yeah,
it's disgusting. It really should be shared around it. And if one fucking person dies from food poisoning, like really, like that's where we're gonna draw the line at. Like, you know, it's like.
But then it's complicated again.
Yeah, again, it is because you got all this legalese. You got.
This was like if the minority suffering doesn't affect the majority, then do I even have to care about homelessness?
Yeah.
So many.
Yeah.
I mean, I care about it, but it's like if one person dies, maybe we do have to reevaluate.
Yeah.
But then if more people die because of it, damn, dude, second podcast.
Yeah, we got a whole new podcast. But
That's
do you have
cool,
anything to promote?
Oh well.
Or plug?
First and foremost. This Burritos Project sounds great, and I'm glad that you plugged it. I would also like to back it up with a plug. I would like to say that I have thought about Googling Habitat for Humanity, so we're both heroes here. I really need to get on my volunteer shit. Fuck, man, now I feel like a bad guy. You're right, I gotta fucking step it up. You didn't even say that, but it feels like you did. Okay. Hey! Wow, thank you so much for asking me what I can plug. You guys should check out new episodes of The Jim Jeffries Show every Tuesday on Comedy Central. You should also check out the 5th season of Crank Yankers on Comedy Central. Only the phones got smarter. Boom!
Woo!
Professional ass plug.
Fuck yeah. And I 100% back up the Crank Yankers plug. Crank Yankers is back, baby. But yeah, we got 2 shows this month. September 19th at the Pack Theater and 1 4th Fridays at the Clubhouse, 9:30 every 4th Friday. But yeah, thank you so much to my guest, Curtis Cook.
Thanks for having me, man. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Usually podcasts suck, but this one was a nice time.
Oh, hell yeah. Well, hopefully everyone listening will have a nice time. So yeah, have a good one. Bye-bye.
Twitter, my Facebook, and Instagram @TheYankCast. Stay tuned for more updates.